Hello, public opinion aficionados, and welcome to the Rasmussen Reports channel, where we like to teach you the underhanded tactics that the mainstream media uses to create false narratives with polling. And let me tell you what, there was a really big case of this just in the last 24 hours. Legacy media is trying to convince you that Biden is recapturing his momentum against Trump after a string of horrible polling. Here's an article just from yesterday from Bloomberg about a Bloomberg Morning Consult poll. And let me tell you, it was picked up everywhere in corporate media. Biden is on a roll in key swing states. Finally, some good news for President Joe Biden on the polling front. A new Bloomberg News Morning Consult poll of voters in several pivotal swing states shows Biden gaining ground on former President Donald Trump after months of lagging. First, to all the polling truthers, let's take these numbers at face value. Previous polls have been fairly consistent in showing Trump ahead of Biden. Trump still leads across the 7 states in this new poll, but the race is tightening with the former president at 47% to Biden's 43%. But Biden gained ground against Trump in 6 of the key states, significantly so in at least 2, according to the poll. But here's the big problem with that narrative. Let's go to Real Clear Politics' latest polling. And here are the polls from Bloomberg. Arizona, Trump versus Biden. Let's take a look. Bloomberg Morning Consult. Date, March 8th through March 14th. Georgia, March 8th through March 12th. Michigan, March 8th through March 12th. You can keep on clicking through these yourself, but the fact is that all of the data was collected between March 8th and March 14th. Can anybody tell me off the top of their head what happened around that time period? Well, it turns out that March 7th was Joe Biden's State of the Union speech. And leading up to that night, let me tell you, the wheels were falling off the Biden administration. His polling was heading south. But what traditionally happens after every State of the Union speech? Presidents get a bounce. Here's our presidential daily tracking poll page, which you can go see yourself at rasmussenreports.com. And let me take a moment to tell you that we are the only pollsters in the industry that polls daily on presidential approval. Gallup used to do it, no longer in the field. We're the only ones left. And this data comes to you every business day, less than 24 hours after it's collected. So if you want to know what's happening with public opinion after a major event happens, you need to be checking this out. But farther down the page, we have a graphic visually comparing Joe Biden's job approval rating to Trump's term 4 years ago. Now, before we get into it, you can take a look at the blue and the green lines. And structurally, Joe Biden's job approval is lower than Donald Trump's, which is pretty interesting considering the mainstream media would have you believe that Trump is the most hated president in the world and that Joe Biden ranks up there somewhere with Abraham Lincoln. I'll spare you the trouble of checking yourself. But essentially, Bloomberg entered the field the day after the State of the Union address. Perhaps they were expecting a bounce, and they collected data from here all the way up to here. Now, since then, Joe Biden's job approval rating has completed a complete round trip back down to 39%. But they got their poll and they got their headlines, and Joe Biden is recapturing the momentum from Donald Trump. But don't forget from that chart that Joe Biden's job approval rating is significantly lower than Donald Trump's. There are a bunch of measures I could use to convince you that Joe Biden's job approval rating is much worse than Trump's, but here's just one. Today, Joe Biden's job approval rating is 39%. Donald Trump spent 5 days of his presidential term at or below 39% approval. That number for Joe Biden, 59 days so far. Now, another issue to point out is also how the Bloomberg Morning Consult poll is registered voters and not likely voters. We've covered this before, but Rasmussen Reports polls likely voters all the time because we think it's most accurate. I don't want to speak for Bloomberg and why they're polling registered voters. It is cheaper and it could favor Democrats. But what I can tell you is as the election approaches, they're going to shift to likely voters just like us. If you like our coverage, please follow us on Twitter at Rasmussen_poll. Take the moment to click subscribe and follow our channel. Hit the like button, ring the bell for notifications, and thanks for watching.